Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick joined by Justin.
Hello!
We are back on FFG's Star Wars Legion page because we got another article today. This is the Imperial March, taking a look at a few Empire units from the core set. Now, it's worth noting that nothing here is new information. We already knew everything that was spoiled in this article. Yep. It's just another excuse for FFG to have a bit of a conversation about some of the things going on with the game. But most importantly in this article, we have a release date for Star Wars Legion.
And it is 2 months away.
Yeah, it's 2 months away, unfortunately. March 22nd. Look, a release date's a release date. That's absolutely fine. It's just a bit odd that it's at distribution level, at least in here, in Australia and in Spain, and it's still just going to sit there for 2 months. I mean, maybe there was difficulties getting it elsewhere in the world. I don't know. For the time being, we have just under 2 months to talk about Star Wars Legion, and this is... it's kind of good for me. Apart from anything else, it saves me some money for the next 2 months. But most importantly, there's a lot of stuff I want to do on this channel before the release of Star Wars Legion. I want to do some reviews on some products that some people are making, mainly terrain stuff, that kind of thing. And this gives me a good chance and a good excuse to take a long time with that kind of stuff and actually just start the conversation going. And also, I want to start talking about lists because that's my jam. That's basically what my entire X-Wing content on this channel is all about. So we're going to start doing that well before the game comes out, and we're going to hit the ground running the second it does come out.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. But for the time being, let's focus on this article and all the goodies it shows off. Basically, it's high-res images of everything we've seen before. Here's the Vader card. Let's go through it again. We've seen it before, but why not? Darth Vader costs 200 points. He is an Imperial Commander. He moves at a speed of 1, has 8 health. His constitution is blank, meaning his constitution is actually infinite. He can never be suppressed. Yay, Vader. He defends.
Makes sense.
Yeah, he defends with red dice. His melee attack is 6 red dice, impact 3, pierce 3, ouch, and 3 force abilities. Keywords are deflect while defending. If you spend a dodge token, you gain surge to evade. If it's a ranged attack and you roll a surge, the attacker suffers 1 wound. Ping the bullet back at them. That's what it's all about.
Now, you said something interesting. Vader v Vader.
Yes, yes. We'll get onto this a bit more when we see some of these Force cards. But there's an interesting interaction when Vader fights Darth Vader on your opposing squad. Oh, which reminds me, one of you was asking about... are there going to be matchups with Imperial versus Imperial, Rebel versus Rebel? I think the comment was, I really don't want to see that because I want to see like everything being fluff compliant and that kind of stuff. I think realistically, guys, if you're concerned about that, I'm sorry, but you go to a tournament, you take a squad. You can't force your opponents to play as the opposing faction, or you you shouldn't be forced to take 2 squads to every tournament.
No.
I don't think that's what this game's going to be about. So yes, I'm sorry if that bothers you, but there will be Empire versus Empire, Rebel versus Rebel. I can't see a realistic way of that not happening. So from that point of view, yes, let's talk about the Vader versus Vader interaction. Also immune to Pierce, we know what that does. Master of the Force, during the end phase you may ready one of your Force upgrade cards. Now we know what all the Force upgrade cards do. Let's talk about that again in more detail.
Yep. And
Relentless, after you perform a move action you may perform a free attack. Which is, again, more relevant because we know some of the cards.
Force abilities, yeah.
One of them being an attack. A ranged attack at that, which actually gives Vader a bit more flexibility. So let's talk about those Force cards. Let's scroll down to what we see in the article, and actually let's talk about what was spoiled as well through various other means, because we actually do have what would appear to be all the Force cards from the core set spoiled. There are like 3 Luke-themed ones and 3 Vader-themed ones.
Yeah. And
because of that, it looks like it's a complete set, and we probably won't have any more, which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Here in the article, we have Force Choke. This is dark side only. Another point we're going to talk about soon.
Yeah.
But as a free action... by the way, someone in the comments section pointed out this icon means free action, so thank you for that.
And the other one means...
Yeah. And this one means it's a regular action. This is a free action, but you must tap it down or spend it to use it, meaning you have to ready it or use Master of the Force to get it back up again.
Yep.
And that's why Master of the Force is relevant, because now we know what you have to spend things on. Choose an enemy trooper mini at range 1 that is not your commander. It suffers 1 wound. Cool, awesome.
Yep.
And now that we know that's a free action, that's really good.
That's terrifying.
That's free. That's free wounds just flinging at your enemies for 5 points each turn, and you can untap it or re-ready it every turn for free as well.
Yeah,
that seems brutally efficient. We also have Saber Throw. For an action, choose one of your melee weapons. Perform a ranged attack with that weapon against an enemy unit at range 1 to 2, using half of that weapon's dice rounded up. That is treated as an attack action. Vader fights with his melee attack with 6 red dice, meaning this would use 3 red dice, but you still have Impact 3 and Pierce 3 on that attack.
Wow.
Which is big.
Good.
That's good against vehicles. That's really good against vehicles. Red dice are probably going to sink hits and sink criticals and get through armor.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's really good. And it counts as an attack, meaning that he can move and get the free attack with Saber Throw. Vader just looks so brutal.
Yeah.
And efficient. I mean, I guess what's going on here is his access to these cards is factored into his cost. He costs 200 points.
Yeah.
These cards are 5 and 10 points. That seems really cheap compared to other stuff that we've seen.
Well, actually, the Saber Throw isn't faction specific.
No, it's not. It's not. So we'll talk about... Well, actually, why don't we do that? Let's talk about Luke, because Luke can also take this. If Luke were to take this, he would roll 3 black dice with an Impact 2, Pierce 2 attack. So it's obviously way more powerful on Vader. And Luke does not have the keyword that allows him to use his attack for free when he moves. He has charge, which means that must be a melee attack. Saber Throw dictates it is specifically a ranged attack using a melee weapon. So Luke wouldn't be able to do this. Sure, he can take Saber Throw, but it's way less powerful. Also factor in the point that Luke already has a blaster, which is not much worse. 2 red dice as opposed to 3 black dice. Well, I think 3 black is a little bit better, but not much. Doesn't have impact, but that might not be relevant depending on what you're fighting against.
Yeah.
I just think that there's not enough value on Luke to take Saber Throw, or there's significantly less at the very least.
Yeah, I suppose Saber Throw would be better on Vader.
Yeah, for sure. And considering Luke can already move a speed of 2 and he has charge, he deals with vehicles by just jumping on them and attacking them with his melee weapon. He doesn't throw his lightsaber like Vader.
No.
Vader needs Saber Throw because he only moves at a range of 1.
Yeah, that's true.
He needs to be able to do that kind of stuff. And it makes perfect sense. The other Vader-themed card we have is Force Push for 10 points. As a free action, and you spend it, choose an enemy trooper at range 1, perform a 1-speed move with that unit, even if it's engaged. That's nasty.
That's good.
It's also another great option to use with Master of the Force, because it's another thing that you can just take off. I like Force Choke better because that's just killing stuff, and I really enjoy that. But this has battlefield manipulation built into it. It's actually like playing around with the board state.
Well, with this one, you can move the commander. You can't use Force Choke on the commander.
You're exactly right. It did say non-commander. Very well picked up. I mean, obviously, this is a picture of Vader specifically pushing Luke through a window on Bespin. It'd be kind of weird if it did say non-commander. So from that point of view, it's more versatile.
It is 5 points more, though.
Yeah, but in an 800-point game, that's not so bad, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose.
I guess this is a higher value card. I just love Force Choke. You're just killing something every single turn.
Yeah.
Look, from my point of view, I'm a very aggressive Scum player in X-Wing. You're a very aggressive Imperial player, and I think Force Choke appeals to us more.
Yeah.
Just with our play styles. Just from what I can assume based on what we've seen with Star Wars Legion. So I think Force Choke and probably better than Force Push. You can take both.
Yeah, I was going to say Vader does have 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you take 2 things that spend and go for that versatile option, or you take 1 thing that spend and use it turn after turn after turn every single time and always untap it?
I don't know.
I don't know either. That's actually an interesting conversation that we should have later.
Yeah.
But for the time being, that's the 3 Vader-themed Force cards we have. So before we move on to the other Force cards that we already know about that have been spoiled, I want to talk about Saber Throw because I noticed this when I was reading through all the stats and everything. When we have Vader versus Vader, which will happen, I mean, let's be honest, it's probably going to be the most popular commander, at least when the game's launched. And we have Deflect. While defending, if you spend a dodge token, which another force ability grants quite easily, I'll just point out before we go on to those, you gain Surge equals dodge. If it's a ranged attack, the attacker suffers 1 wound for each Surge result you roll. Meaning, if a Vader throws a saber at Vader and Vader spends as a dodge token and rolls a Surge, he is deflecting Vader's lightsaber back at the other Vader and just knocking it right back at him. Which is absurd to think about.
Yeah. First of all, you've got a Vader versus Vader, which is absurd.
Oh, absolutely. But it works with Luke as well. Yeah. Luke could throw his lightsaber. I know that's not likely for the reasons we explained before.
Yeah. Well, actually, Luke has Deflect as well, so technically he could...
That's true. That's true. Luke versus Luke, Vader versus Vader, Luke versus Vader. You can deflect your opponent's lightsaber back at them.
And deal them damage.
That seems bizarre, but there's no reason why you can't do that. I mean, if spend a dodge token, if it's a ranged attack, I mean, pure and simple, if it's a ranged attack. And they may errata this to say a blaster attack.
Well, I was going to say, maybe they just, just don't saber throw at Luke.
We don't saber, but the option's there.
Yeah.
I mean, rule of thumb is if the game can be broken, people will break it. Yeah. And this is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And it's just a bizarre interaction, which it tickles me a bit. I quite like it. Let's go on to the other force abilities we already had spoiled, because I think it's actually worth talking about. Now, Jedi Mind Trick was spoiled in a previous article, and it's worth noting that it says light side only. So Vader cannot take it. It's only something for Luke for the time being. Picture of Obi-Wan in it, so maybe we'll get Obi-Wan in a later set. That'd be great. Light side only cost 5 points as a free action, and it spends. Choose an enemy trooper at range 1 to 2. It gains 2 suppression tokens. A nice bit of control. Do you want this over push though? This is cheaper. It's a free action. I guess that that's a factor you can take in.
Yeah. I suppose it depends how you want to play. Whether you want to suppress people or you want to move a troop closer to you.
Yeah, and I guess as we start playing the game, we'll start to learn the value between the two of those, which one is better in certain scenarios. Again, based on the objectives, blah, blah, blah. One might be better than the other in certain scenarios. It's getting into really deep stuff that we just don't know enough about yet, but that's interesting. What I will say is super interesting about this card, it says the text light side only. And we saw Force Choke, which says dark side only. That's interesting because that does not dictate a faction.
No.
That dictates an allegiance.
Yes.
Or an alignment. Because...
we don't know. Like, there's...
I mean, a lot of people are saying, they should do Clone Wars era stuff. They should do, Third Era First Order versus Resistance stuff, which I'm sure they will do that at the very least. Which means we actually have things that go across faction, and we have a distinction between them, meaning that probably, unlike X-Wing, we're not going to get Imperial stuff on the First Order.
Yeah.
We're going to have this super faction, which dictates both. Like maybe, I don't know, I'm just speculating here. Dark side will be Empire, First Order, and CIS. I mean, I know the allegiances get kind of blurry when we look at the Clone Wars era stuff. But the main reason I say this is because we have had another card revealed to us which does specify a faction. And that's this card here, Wedge Antilles. It says Rebel only.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing I'm saying here. We're already referring to quote-unquote super factions. And we only have 2 factions in the game, Rebel and Empire.
Yeah.
And this, to me, makes me think that there's going to be other factions that have alignment built into it. There's nothing on the card of Vader or Luke that says they're light or dark. Yeah. I think we just assume that Rebel and Empire always work like that.
Yeah. But then what are we going to do if they end up doing like a scum team?
I think it's going to be keyworded on a card-by-card basis.
Yeah.
If indeed any scum characters have force abilities.
Yeah.
So yes, look out for other factions, hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. We have another 2 Force abilities that have been revealed through random spoilers. Battle Meditation's another generic one for 10 points when you issue orders. One of those orders can be issued to any friendly unit on the battlefield.
Ooh.
That seems good. It's like a reverse comlink.
Yeah.
So the commander basically grants any unit on the field comlink for that turn, I guess is the way you kind of look at that.
Yeah.
Again, this is another factor, is we don't really know how these elements play out until we actually have a hands-on play of the game. But that just seems like a great utility card for 10 points. We also have Force Reflex. This is great because of Deflect. Deflect means when you spend a dodge token, you gain surge equals dodge, blah, 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 and all that stuff happens. Force Reflexes gives you a free dodge token. It costs 15 points, so it's an investment, but it's a free action that spends. And that means if you think your commander is going to have to deflect that turn, he has the free dodge token.
Yeah.
Especially with Master of the Force on Vader. This is so good.
Oh, yeah.
This is so good. It's something that you're going to want to seriously consider taking. He can use Push, Force Reflexes, or Choke. And I think there's a great case for all three of these cards being used. But Force Reflexes has such amazing symbiosis with Deflect.
Yeah.
Especially if you're fighting against a commander with Saber Throw, as we were talking about before. Yeah, I like this a lot. It costs more points than the other ones, but I think it is well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. As a free action, getting a dodge token. As we said, we haven't had a hands-on try of the game yet, but mathematically, imagine if there was an X-Wing ship that always got an evade token. You're feeling pretty good about that.
Yeah.
About most of the time, especially if it's the most important ship. And this goes on your commander.
Who's normally pretty important. Nick.
Normally pretty important. I'd say usually extremely important. So yeah, Force Reflexes. And all these Force abilities look like they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They look like they're not insidious in nature. They look like they're just... they promote fun gameplay, which is what... I want this game to be about fun gameplay from the offset. X-Wing... A lot of the complaints people have about X-Wing when we have... things like harpoon missiles, a strong bombing meta, the jump masters. These are all things that are problems because of how they affect the meta in terms of strength. But they're problems because of a lot of people sort of consider them to be negative in terms of the game experience. And I don't want Legion to go down that same path. X-Wing, they're fixing that through FAQs. That's another discussion now for another day.
Yeah.
But if there are strong things in Legion, and a meta is inevitable, everything has a meta, we want the elements to be fun. Even if things are overpowering and becoming top-tier lists, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. At least if it's fun, we're not going to complain too much.
No.
That's the main thing. You want it to be fun if you're winning and if you're losing. And these Force abilities just seem good. Like, they seem like they interact a lot. These could be the things that make or break great lists, but they're not going to be, and they're not going to create negative game experience, which is, from the offset, what we want in a new game. So let's just talk about this image we have here, because this is an example of Vader just using all of his free shenanigans to the best of his ability. He has moved into this position between these two different units, giving him the free Saber Throw, which is going to wreck the AT-RT because he's rolled a crit and 2 hits. Those will turn into crits because this has armor and Vader has impact 3 on his basic attack.
Yeah.
And Force Choke means he can pick off the best mini they have.
Provided that it's in range 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because Force Choke says you pick a mini. Usually when a squad suffers a wound, the player that controls their squad will just pick the worst mini they have in that squad. But Force Choke... Oh, it's just so efficient. I can't wait to fight with Vader. Oh, this looks like so much fun. And this is after one action. Yeah. Vader has another action after this.
Oh.
I mean, this is assuming he moved. He may not have even moved. So maybe this was his attack and that's a free action. Nevertheless, he could have taken aim on the AT-RT first before he did the attack. This is all with one single action.
Yeah.
Vader is going to wreck shop. And... the more I read this stuff and the more I look at his stats and the different cards he can take, 200 points does not feel like a lot. I mean, Luke is significantly cheaper, but Luke doesn't have this kind of shenanigans.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then like at the end of your turn, you use what is it?
Re-ready the Force choke.
Yeah,
Master of the Force. Oh, we also have here the first official reveal of the 74Z speeder bikes. We've seen this before. This has been spoiled for a very long time, but it's a cool unit nonetheless and worth looking at.
It's nice to actually see it finally revealed properly.
Absolutely, and the consideration is, do you take this alongside Vader? If Vader has the ability to command from anywhere on the field, this feels like a great unit to go alongside him.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of board control alongside a commander that can barely move. It does not have a constitution threshold. You never give it a weapons disabled, action disabled, or whatever those yellow tokens are for the vehicles.
Yeah.
So, like Vader, you're basically locking off your opponent from a certain strategy. And it just feels like a great unit to go alongside Vader because of these factors. Speeder 1 means it can fly over cover. Cover 1 means it always has cover, which is... It's the battlefield manipulation with this just feels really, really strong.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
So anyway, guys, that's pretty much Imperial March.
And yeah, again, nothing new revealed in this article, but just the conversations off the back of this. Now that we have all these Force abilities, we see how they interact specifically with Vader. We're going to get an article soon, assumably to do with Luke. We've decided now, when that Luke article drops, we're going to do a Luke versus Vader video and sort of weigh up the pros and cons of how they're costed, how well they interact with their upgrades, and that's going to be very interesting.
I think you go Vader, I'll go Luke.
You go Luke, I'll go Vader. Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Because you want to be the Imperials in this game.
Yep, for sure. And we'll talk about sort of the pros and cons of those units. Yeah. But for the time being, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.
Like our Facebook, like our Twitter.
And we'll catch you later.
Bye.